Hi guys! I'm standing in front of a little sign behind me because in this video we're going to be reading summer books, and if we're going to talk about summer books, then I have a little announcement to make. On July 6th, 2024, I posted this video to my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Shorts feed, announcing that I was finally going to try and tackle my dream of writing a book. It's a dream that I've had since I was 17, and even before that has lived in the back of my mind, but it felt way too far-fetched to actually even admit it to myself, let alone other people, and you guys were so encouraging of that dream that suddenly it went from being this hypothetical thing to a reality where I was trying to write my entire first draft. It's June 30th, 2024. This is what I looked like when I hit 30,000 words. I went from having 20,000 words to 75,000 words in about a month, and then I sent that draft to basically every publisher known to man, and there was one editor who read my story and believed in me, took a chance on me, and now I get to announce to you that my book is actually going to be published. It still feels like illegal for me to be saying this information out loud, and I can tell you the title. Roll the clip.
2, 1, Just Friends!
It's called Just Friends, and you can pre-order my book right now. I know that just went from like, I can't say anything to my book is called Just Friends. It's a summer book. It's childhood friends to lovers. There's a past and present timeline. It's about Blair and Declan, and you can pre-order it. This actually feels surreal. I've been working so hard on this every single day and have not been able to say anything other than, you know, I was writing. So I feel free now, and I'm so excited that you guys actually get to pre-order because you guys have been so supportive of this journey before you even knew what the book was about. It is summery, it's set in a small beach town. Blair and Declan have tons of history together, and then something happens and they don't see each other for 4 years when she goes to college, and she comes back to her small beach town called Seabrook, and she may or may not run into Declan there. I can't believe I'm like talking about it. Pre-orders are really helpful for bookstores to know if there's interest in the book and if they should buy it, and I get to do a cover reveal for you guys soon, so you can follow me on Instagram for like the fastest updates possible, because also as I'm posting this video, I will be on a 50-day road trip with my husband. We're going to 50 states in 50 days, and we're posting a video every single day on his channel, so this might be the last main channel video you see from me until August, but you can watch me every day on YouTube still. It just won't be on this particular channel. Also, our goal for the series is to raise $1 million for St. Jude, so go check it out. I will see you there every day. With that being said, let's read some summer books before mine comes out, because hopefully you guys are reading my book for the summer next year. Okay, here we go. It's almost tradition for me at this point to post a summer book reading video in May and start it with Carly Fortune's new book. I think this is my 3rd year in a row doing that, but this year she released One Golden Summer, and this is the prettiest book cover I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I really want to know if this cover designer painted this on a real canvas and then scanned it in somehow, because look at the paint drips right there. It looks real. There's just no way. Would you look at that lineup? This one is set at the same lake that takes place in Every Summer After, which is her debut novel. The video that I read this in, I gave it 5 stars, and I'm just gonna trust my old self on that, okay? I must have had a good time reading it. The things that happen in here are very sus, but it's fiction. It doesn't mean that I agree with the character's actions. And was it entertaining? Yes, very much so. This book is about Percy and Sam, and the older brother Charlie, who we see in this one, gets his own story in One Golden Summer. So it's really comforting actually to be going back to the same setting, and now I'm getting to see it from Alice's point of view, which she used to watch Sam, Charlie, and Percy hanging out from across the lake, and she used to wish that she could hang out with them, which is just so cool. I feel like it just makes the characters feel more real. So I am already 90 pages into this because I got really excited to read it, and I'm gonna spend the rest of the day reading this, which I'm so excited for. I'm gonna meet up with Ashlyn, who you guys have seen. She also makes book videos, and we're gonna read outside together by the lake, which is perfect for this. So my goal is to get a big chunk done so that I can finish it on the lake. Back home from a lovely time spent out in the sun. I got a solid hour of reading in with Ashlyn and Ian, and reading her books next to a body of water is literally one of the reviews on the back. There's nothing better than reading a fortune book by a body of water, US Weekly. But I've come back home and I've kept reading, and now I'm on page 250. And when I started this book, I forgot why some of her other books fell flat for me. I think it was Meet Me at the Lake that I gave a review that said the characters felt a little bit 2D, like they were saying things, but I couldn't feel anything. And then this one, the main thing that stands out was that it's set in Prince Edward Island. Her friend had a big secret, but I can't really remember much about the actual romance. I think it's fun for characters to be messy because it's entertaining, but for some reason, sometimes it can take a relationship from having yearning and complicated feelings and how would we work in each other's lives to just unromantic and kind of unattractive, that someone isn't just saying how they feel and taking the lead, because at some point in the relationship, you gotta start talking, which I think is a lot more critical than I actually feel, because clearly I get very excited for these books every single year. Like, she nails the setting and the atmosphere and the feeling of summer, and it's such a good book to get you excited for the summer, but I never really think of her books as like, those are my favorite romantic stories, if that makes sense. But I'm still a huge fan, as you can tell. But all that to say, similar vibes in this one. If you've read Every Summer After, I think you go into this one anticipating a conversation that needs to be had, which definitely adds like a nice tension. And Alice is a photographer who is taking care of her grandmother after a surgery of some sort, so she wants to take her grandmother to this lake house because she's seeming a little bit down, and I really like the grandmother character. I like the things that she interjects, and I like Alice's struggle with feeling like she's compromised some of her morals in the past for working with businesses, and now she's back in the place that made her fall in love with photography on the lake, and she's trying to figure out what she would just do naturally instead of someone telling her to do it. So I'm on page 250. I don't know how many pages there are. 363 pages. 113 pages left. Let's keep reading then. Okay, it's 10 p.m. I finished One Golden Summer. Whenever I try to think about reviewing this, I just go to say the things that I've already said in the previous clips. So in an effort not to repeat myself, I really liked what she did with the last 75 pages. I was up late finishing it on my Kindle because I just couldn't put it down, which is a really good sign. And I feel like she did something different at the end because I couldn't tell if she was ever actually going to leave the lake or if she was just going to stay there the entire book. So it really had me hooked there at the end. I think I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. I love the cover and I love the summer vibes, and I loved seeing a reoccurring character and the characters from Every Summer After from another person's perspective. I feel like I've never really read that in a book before, and all of her stories are so atmospheric that I will probably be reading the next one. But aspects of books that really get me to rate them really high are certain quotes that I just can't get out of my head that I feel like describe something very well, or a romance that I can really root for. Her romances more so feel like messy entertainment because the communication is usually not there, which I wouldn't like in real life, but I would like to read in fiction because it's just for fun. But I do find myself, when reading like messier romances, walking away from it, just forgetting about the characters rather than like keeping them in my brain and still rooting for them even though they don't exist. So yeah, 3.5 stars. Definitely would be a great read next to A Body of Water, like the US Weekly review says, because it just really adds to those vibes. But let's pick our next summer read. I currently feel like I'm getting sick, but I'm gonna try with all my might not to be, so I'm gonna just keep resting and laying down. But Ali Hazelwood's book just came out, and it's a summer read, so I'm gonna download that on my Kindle right now, and we're just gonna start it and see how much I can get done today, which is probably a lot because I won't be moving. Ooh, the back spasms are starting. Got a coffee here. I think this will heal me, hopefully. Okay, I did do a lot of reading yesterday. I think I got 40% through Problematic Summer Romance. I keep forgetting the name of it because the book cover is like a checklist. It looks like one of those Instagram promos that says what tropes are in a romance book, if you know what I'm talking about, but it's actually the title. So yeah, I'm 44% through. We're getting a past and present timeline, which is in my book as well. There's an age gap, which I didn't know that's what this was about. I also didn't realize that this is about the sister from this book, Not in Love. So Eli is her older brother, and the guy that she has a crush on, Connor, is Eli's friend. So that's why there's such a large age gap. For a while they were being a little bit vague on what it was, and I was like, guys, tell us what the age gap is. I think it's 15 years. So in the past timeline, she's 20 and he's 35. The current timeline is about her brother Eli's wedding coming up. So it's like 7 days to the wedding, 6 days. So it's a pretty contained location and timeline, and they're in Italy. It sounds very beautiful. I looked up photos, but I'm having a good time. It's actually kind of less lusty than most Ali Hazelwood books have been lately. This one is considered erotica, and so is her other one, Deep End, which I didn't read this year. This is her second book of 2025, so I'm excited that I get to read this one because I'm a very big fan of her, and this is classic Ali Hazelwood writing, except this one has probably the most amount of characters any of her books have ever had. I'm really liking it so far. Not much to say yet. crosswalk is under this green cover. I finished Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. This is probably the fastest I've read a book in a while. I read it in 2 days on the Kindle. Ali Hazelwood is cranking out the books, and this doesn't even include Deep End, which I didn't read. Where's Love on the Brain? Here she is. Boom, boom, boom. Out of all of these books, her STEM romances are my favorite. These are like some of my favorite romance books ever. They're just so fun and whimsical, and all of her male main characters are like the same flavor of human being. So if you like one of them, you like all of them. If you don't like them, you don't like any of them. Then we have her era where she branches out a little bit. I really liked Bride. These are some novellas, and they're also STEM. This one is also still STEM. So sorry for saying that word so many times, but this is the first one she's written where I feel like it's not in a lab or where two characters are co-workers. This is simply an age gap romance, which is not something I typically read, and it's mostly just about the week leading up to the wedding of the characters from this book. And although all of her books are fast-paced for me, I would say this one is my least favorite one that I've ever read by her. Not that it was bad, but I wasn't really bought into either of the characters. I didn't really like them that much. I also just really didn't like how they would make jokes about their age. Like, she would call him an old man and talk about his gray hairs, and like she was 20 years old making those jokes, and I just kind of wasn't really bought into that relationship. I feel like it's the first time that Ali Hazelwood has really tried to make the atmosphere of the setting feel like a character in the book and feel like this summery experience. So it definitely fits the theme of this video. And they were on this Italian island cave at one point, which was really cool. Pretty much all of her books at this point are spicy. I feel like when she first started out, they were way less so, but now you can probably expect like 3 to 4 scenes. So yeah, I read this because I'm gonna read every Ali Hazelwood book pretty much, but I wasn't super bought into these specific characters. So I'd probably rate this 3 stars for good writing, good setting. I lost my train of thought. It is a summer reread, I would say. I think Carly Fortune really wins in the atmosphere department, but maybe if you were on a plane or something and you wanted something really fast, then this one would be the one for you. Next up is a book that is one of my most anticipated reads of the entire year. It's an author that I love very, very, very much, and I'm very excited to start it. I know it will be summery, so let's get started reading it. It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. I am so excited for this book. Look at the beautiful cover. Here are the other books that I've read by her. I started reading her books just based off of this cover and this title, and I just picked it up and thought, that looks like it's gonna be fun. And it was very fun. In this book, Nora was a screenplay writer, and in this one the character is also something of that sort. She's like buying scripts and they're trying to make a movie, but they're trying to track down this extremely famous pop country singer person who she has a very brief history with in her past because she was a child actor. So I wonder if she ever had something to do with screenplays or screenwriting, or if she just finds it fascinating to write about. I loved this one, and then I read Same Time Next Summer, and I love this one. I'm just a sucker for childhood romances. It's why I wrote one myself, so I think that's why I fell in love with this one. And then last year I read Summer Romance, and similarly to this one, the first 50 pages are just whatever, but because this is my 4th time reading one of her books, I know to just trust the process. And slowly it's like you're inching up this roller coaster, and then it finally hits a tipping point where you're like, I'm so invested in this book, I want to not work so I can just read this all day. And that's where I'm finally at with this book because I'm now 40% into it. Okay, I'm on page 150-ish, which seems to be halfway. Her books are always just so short and sweet. Her sentences are short and sweet. And look at this theme we have going. That is so satisfying. I love how the characters are like massive on the book covers. But going into this, I did not read the back, so I was very confused on who the love interest was. I couldn't tell if it was the guy that she hated at work, who's a cinematographer and is always shooting down the scripts that she wants to make and calling them like bad romance movies, although he loves The Notebook, so it's not just because he hates romances in general. Or if it was this Jack guy who's like the famous pop star that they're trying to track down. I was like, which way is the story going? I know the answer to that now, and right now the story has moved to a small beach town, which I was not expecting, and I love that too. I eat that up, as I also wrote a small beach town. But this one's a lot more like family oriented, huge family that she's walking into, and it's just giving very cozy vibes right now. And she is someone who craves family, so I'm really liking that in the story so far. There's been some really good lines that I've highlighted. Honestly, now that I'm looking through the things that I've highlighted, she is eating with some of the descriptions in here. She's describing the childhood home of the guy that she's with and how he grew up with tons of brothers and family, and she says, I feel the ghost of a million laughs in this room. Her hard-hitting sentences are always super uncomplicated, but they hit. I have a quick thought that he looks like a bed you'd want to climb back into on a Sunday. Yeah, that eats. I'm really excited that this is the book we're reading right now because I'm getting very good, I'm gonna say it, 5-star feelings. That's that's what I was preventing myself from saying, so I might as well just tell you. That's how I'm feeling right now. It's time to talk about how much this book ate. I was at the 75% mark when I was going to bed last night, stayed up for however long it took to just read through the entire rest of the book, and it was so fast and easy to do. And the quotes started getting gut punchy. Like, some of these lines, I actually felt breathless reading them, which I feel like I've heard someone say that before in a review. Like, some of the lines took my breath away, and I'm like, what do you mean? It's words on paper. These lines felt like that. I want him to meet Clem and my mom and know how much I have, even though I have so few people. That was like the second time that she kind of referred to her relationships as the real wealth in her life. Jane not having a dad growing up and really craving that sense of family, and then staying with someone who has a huge family was just the most heartwarming thing ever. And when they would wake up in the morning and everyone's doing something, someone's reading the newspaper, someone's making breakfast, someone's playing outside, like, that just gave me the coziest, warmest feelings ever. I loved that. She captured that feeling so well. This is a quote when Jane is talking about the approval that she craves from her father. All the fantasies of what I could have said or done to make him want to stay flash behind my eyes, and I'm not even sure those fantasies have stopped. They've just changed into fantasies about what I might say or do now to be loved by the bigger world, by a date, by Hollywood, by the hostess at the Ivy. And that sentiment of like the things that we lacked in our childhood that manifest in different ways as an adult, ouch. It's nearly impossible to break a dynamic that's been choreographed between two people for decades. Yeah. Dan looks at me. The look says so many things so loudly that I'm afraid everyone hears. There's so many highlights. You know that I'm about to rate a book very highly if I read all these highlights. This feels like wealth, I think. This is the thing you save up for. You live your whole life so that you can be surrounded by too many people in too small of a room and tell the story of how it all happened. Towards the end, when we have our conflict happening, I will say, although there's a lot of believable pieces of the puzzle of why she would respond in that way, I did get annoyed, and I very rarely get annoyed by main characters, but the way that she was blowing up on everyone and refusing to say anything did bother me a little bit, which is why I think I'm gonna rate this 4.75 stars, which is a tentative 5 stars, because if I continue to think about these characters and the setting in the book, then that probably means it'll move to a 5 star. But for now, that did annoy me and I still remember that. But this is the closest I have read in a long time of what it actually feels like to fall in love, which you would think is what romance books are about. But this one really captured it. Just like that quiet, but all at once very fast feeling that you can get with someone, especially if you're like on a trip with them or something. It felt so believable. All of her inner monologue was exactly, I feel like, the types of things that you think when you think that you're falling in love with someone. Everything just has more feeling. It seems like the world has more color. You start to view yourself differently in the mirror. She captured all of that stuff so well, and the setting was amazing. There's a really interesting subplot of her being a child actress, and then when I read the acknowledgements, she says that she got inspired to write this book after reading I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. She was a character on the show iCarly. She wrote a memoir about her experience being a child actress, and that makes so much sense that this book wasn't based on that, but inspired by that. The author says she read that memoir twice in 2 days, and that really colored in the story for me. So I feel like that context honestly would have been kind of fun to have before reading it, but this was so great. Should I do a tier ranking? Because I've read 4 of her books now. Okay, honestly, this is a very easy tier ranking. I think, okay, actually no, it's not. These two are S tier for me. And then Nora Goes Off Script is like A, and Summer Romance is just under that. Not necessarily B, that sounds a little harsh, but just like 4th favorite out of all of these. But if you haven't read one of her books, I highly recommend. I think you'd have a good time with all of them. For the most part, Have No Spice. This one had the most that she's ever written, I think, but they were still pretty much fade to black. They just like kind of talk about it more. I feel like they're all fade to black. If you were going on a beach vacation and you could only pack one summer romance book, I would tell you to pack It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. So freaking good. In the meantime, the link to pre-order my book, Just Friends, is in the description. That is so crazy to say. And I'm somewhere in America right now, so if you want to know what state I'm in, you can go to Ryan's YouTube channel or my Instagram account. And I will see you guys later this summer. Bye!